are you dealing with any other factors that is delaying you being able to get to the bottom of what's going on there? Or is it just purely the government saying, hey, this is how slow we're working. We can take our time if we want to, and there's nothing you can do about it?
With their procedure, with their preventative arrest procedure that they have in place, they certainly, have the protection that they could extend this to 180 days. And there really isn't much we can do if they continue to try to take the position that they shouldn't be released because, they might be a flight risk or they're a potential danger and things of that nature. So I do find normally that in high profile cases that because there are so many eyes on a case, typically those tend to move a bit faster than maybe a normal case would that gets put on the back burner and nobody's in a rush to prosecute that. So typically they do move a little faster. Now, in this case, this has been an extremely slow investigation. So I know they've been in custody since the end of December, but what a lot of people might not recognize is this investigation actually started in April of 2022. And there was allegations made at the time. Police did a raid, they investigated, and there was nothing to those allegations. So, but they did open up, a bigger investigation. And another fact, because you did bring up the $300 million, you made some reference to a potential lawsuit about that. Mm-hmm. And so just to make this clear, what happened is after this investigation happened in April, and it was shown that the allegations were false and the police, made no arrests at the time, the Tate brothers actually filed criminal complaints in Romania against the two women who made these accusations. And again, that's not a fact that's been widely reported, but that is an open criminal investigation against the women. And that started, almost 8 months before the Tate brothers were ever arrested or, investigated really for any of the criminal accusations that they're currently being investigated for. So the lawsuit that you referenced and the cease and desist letter, that is part of that original criminal complaint that was initiated in April by the brothers when they were not charged or being investigated for anything further, and when they were the victims of false allegations and they were pursuing their legal rights.
And that was in April. So from April till February now, but they put him in jail. The timing of that to me, there's a lot of theories out there, and I'll just pose the question. You're a pro. You're going to give whatever response you're going to give. Sometimes, certain events happen. It could be ironic. It could be like coincidental, or it could be like, it's a little bit. You kind of crossed the line with who you went after with the Greta Thunberg and all this other stuff, and here's what you did, and boom, and then all of a sudden 2 days. Could they have done what they did to the Tate brothers? What they did 2 days after Greta, could they have done the same exact thing and started detention in April, in May, in June? You know what I'm saying? Like, could they have just automatically said, hey, why not wait till this time? It just so happens they did it 2 days after that. So there's some theories where maybe he crossed the line a little bit. You're pushing a little bit too much of the envelope, and this is the time to take this guy down and silence him.
So I guess to break it down a little bit, what they were initially, the allegations that were made in April were that these women were being held against their will by the Tate brothers. And that was investigated, and that there was absolutely no truth to that. So they were not, their status when the investigation started of the Tate brothers were as witnesses. And so Romania has different categories that they put people in. You could either be a witness, a suspect, or a defendant. So they started in April. They were witnesses to this allegation. The police investigated. There was nothing there. And that's what the criminal complaints that they filed in April were about, those particular instances. Now, since that time, I think, police began to surveil the brothers and were, I think, trying to find something to further investigate. And again, I don't want to speculate as to the reasons why they were trying to, find further allegations to investigate. But the timing of it, yes, it's obviously, it was many, many months later. What may have triggered that particular date, it's hard to say. So in other words, they could have done that earlier, right? So they could have, because if it's all allegedly human trafficking and rape, they could have done it in August. They could have done it in July. They could have done it in June. They just so happened to choose to do it
2 days after that. And I know that whole one thing where people were like, well, if you're going to order pizza, why would you put the pizza? That was already debunked, and that's not even a part of the conversation. If they wanted to get him, they're going to get him. It's not like they're going places. They're not going, avoiding places. This is specific about the fact that could the government have come in and taken him to jail and put him in detention in any other month except the time that they did it at?
Yes, because again, this is preventative arrest. It's not like they had, enough evidence to charge them with crimes. This was a preventative arrest because they were investigating. They certainly could have done this, weeks earlier if that's what they chose to do.
So what that does is that gives a lot of credence to the audience that is saying this guy's being set up because of who he called out in the establishment. To that audience that goes, I told you so. I knew this. I know. Well, you're giving them credit if you're doing it this way. So I almost think. I almost think that works against them and it works in your favor. Why are you waiting this long until you're doing X, Y, Z?